Hello, welcome in. It's the PHNX Cardinals post-game show brought to you by our friends at Four Peaks Brewery. I'm Johnny Venerable, Bo Brock, Britten Golden. We are live here at BetMGM Sportsbook at the Great Lawn at State Farm Stadium. The Arizona Cardinals, tell me if you heard this before, they fall again. They drop to a meager 1-5. 1-6 now, I'm sorry, on the season. 20-10 loss. Asleep in Seattle. And, I mean, the culprit today, it's like a different one every week. Offensively, this team has been zilch, non-existent since the departure of James Conner from injury. Winning the turnover battle, Bo Brock, today 3-0, and yet doing nothing with it. 10 points on the afternoon.
Yeah, another second-half dud. No charming Tom Hanks performance in this in this sequel. It was brutal. Joshua Dobbs, I don't know. He didn't even have – as far as his first-half performance, that was actually the better Dobbs than there was in the second half.
Sad.
Just couldn't get it going offensively. The Arizona Cardinals, like the second half, like Drew Petzing, this offense just can't get it going now, averaging 4.2 points per second half in their contest. That's just not getting it done. That's not playing winning football. And it's like, okay, is there any light at the end of the tunnel for this offense? Yes, in the name of Kyler Murray, right? But he's still probably weeks away. So you're going to have to figure out in the interim how to score points, and especially at the end of the game. Your defense did exactly what it needed to, guys. 118 yards. They only surrendered in the second half. Just 6 points. They bent. They didn't break. They actually were exceptional in the second half, and it was squandered by the offense.
No, it's one of those things where as a defensive player, it's got to be frustrating.
Yeah.
You come out and you put a second half together like that, you force another couple turnovers, you do everything you're supposed to do, you get the offense the ball in plus territory, and you get nothing out of it. Not even a 3-point field goal out of it.
I mean, like we were talking about this during portions of the second half. You win the turnover battle 3-0, and you lose the game by double digits. Like, does that speak to your coaching? Does that speak to the players, your personnel? I think it's a mixture, but right now, like this team, their margin for error is so small. On a given week, it could be their secondary, right? Today, it was the quarterback play, the offensive line. Like, if everything doesn't go according to plan perfectly for this team, like it did against Dallas, like, they're going to lose games, and they're going to lose games by double digits. It feels like the good vibes from earlier this season, and they're still there to some degree as this team's been competitive. The disheartening notion that, come the fourth quarter, you're going to watch this team surrender leads and then fall apart at the seams. And I think that was no greater example today than, as you mentioned, the aforementioned Joshua Dobbs, who through 5 games this season had a 90-plus quarterback rating, was top 12 in QBR around the NFL. I think it's safe to say the jury is out on Joshua Dobbs, and it's not good. Teams have caught up to Dobbs, given more tape, more of an opportunity to study what Dobbs was doing effectively. A 68.5 quarterback rating, 19 of 33. First of all, 33 attempts is too many for Joshua Dobbs. We'll talk about that later. But again, Bo Brock, you mentioned it. Inaccuracies, careless with the football, taking bad sacks. And I get it. Like, DJ Humphries leaves the game. Keldron Beacham's there. Left guard's been a sieve all season. But, man, Joshua Dobbs, he's just regressed.
He has, but as a collective group, it's fallen short across the board because, Dobbs out there, he's making plays, and Britten, you can speak to this more than I can. Like, you got to help your quarterback out. Zach Ertz is in a position to make a catch, and on a third down, all he has to do is turn around for a first down, and he doesn't even haul in that football. You've got, before a drive even starts, you force a punt. You've got a backup. Your 4th-string tight end is getting called on the return for a face mask. It already puts your offense way back and behind. I mean, they just weren't doing anything to help themselves out this entire second half. It was a collective effort and where they fell short on the offensive side of the football.
No, and it's all offense. Like we've already discussed how well the defense have played, but offensively, I mean, even the passing play calls today, I don't know, don't get me wrong. I can't see everything that goes on at the beginning, but I feel like it's just we take the snap, First read isn't there. We immediately think check down, and we got 5-yard routes. The fake punt, whatever, go for it on 4th down, whatever kind of fucking decision that was. One, it was awful.
Yeah.
2, if you're going to fake a punt at the end of the game, even if you're going to go for it on 4th down, why is it a 5-yard hitch route when you've got 9 yards to get to?
Yeah.
That just right there, that goes to coaching for me. That goes right to coaching.
Yeah.
Why was this the play call on 4th and 9? Why?
Right.
Well, why not find something where everybody gets to the sticks? That way, when the ball is thrown, at least there's an opportunity to keep moving the football.
Just felt like Pete Carroll, defensive savant, like took away anything the Cardinals wanted to do with Joshua Dobbs beyond 10 yards. Everything, I mean, you saw it in his completion, today, 4.4 yards per completion. That's Colt McCoy-esque from the preseason. That is Joshua Dobbs today. Anything beyond the sticks, the Cardinals were not able to secure against Seattle. And I get it, like Pete Carroll, he's going to the Hall of Fame. Devin Witherspoon's out there lighting Rondell Moore up. But again, I think there were plays to be had, but either Dobbs doesn't have the confidence right now that he could potentially make those throws like he did earlier against San Francisco and company, or the Cardinals are trying to play it safe, and I would say too safe. Too many plays behind the line of scrimmage. That screen call at the end of the game, that was abysmal. And then, I mentioned this on Twitter, but I know, Amari DiMercato had 4.5 yards per attempt or whatever, but this team clearly misses James Conner.
Yeah.
Josh Dobbs was playing good football when James Conner was a part of this lineup, and now you take away the number one facet of this offense, and of course now more falls on Joshua Dobbs, and everybody's like, well, Joshua Dobbs is terrible. Maybe Joshua Dobbs needs a bell cow running back in order to be effective, and where I will push back against everybody else is you knew you weren't going to have Kyler Murray for upwards of 6 to 8 weeks plus to start this season. So your notion was we're going to have a backup quarterback, whether it's Colt McCoy or Clayton Tune or Joshua Dobbs, and we're going to rely on James Conner to be healthy. You should have had a contingency plan to give more juice to this running game, because right now, this is not a recipe for success. Joshua Dobbs with an undrafted free agent starting at running back, and again, that's no disrespect to the young man, but you need somebody like a James Conner. I mean, Kareem Hunt's running well today for the Cleveland Browns en route to their victory. You needed to be more proactive in that position to set yourself up for success until Kyler Murray came back.
Sure, I mean, you could do that, but I want to get back to BG's point about the decision on 4th down, because it seemed like if Seattle does exactly what they did and take away your look, you have to be in the moment smart enough to just burn a timeout there.
100%.
And then just kick it deep, right? Because what they did is they're like, okay, we're going to get out there and we're going to just run this play even if we don't get this look and just wish for the best. Because what it did, it put them right within striking distance, and they put that game away. It was a 7-point game at that point.
Do you guys have any confidence? Let's say hypothetically they get that punt off, and Seattle gains a couple first downs, and they punt from their own 35. You have any confidence?
It gives you a chance, though. I mean, it gives you a chance.
We haven't had confidence in this offense for a few weeks now.
I have zero confidence if it's still 17
got an
to 10.
Opportunity. At least you can say at the end of the game that there's an opportunity.
You had opportunities inside the 35-yard line, 20-yard line.
This just needs to be a learning experience. You go out there and it doesn't that play. You don't have options. If it's you don't get the look you want, you shut it down. You take a timeout. You kick it. You don't put Clayton Tune back there to throw 4 or 5 yards when it's 4th and 9.
It was bad. But I'm not going to say
it
didn't. I don't think it cost him the game.
It did.
It cost them a chance at the game. Their offense cost themselves the game throughout the entire game.
So Seattle knew the Cardinals needed 10 points, could play soft at the end of the game, and still was sacking Dobbs at a relentless opportunity with under a minute left. I'm sorry. I don't think the Cardinals, even at a one-possession 7-point game, that was the margin for the entire game. They couldn't do anything. But again, I don't think it was good. I'm not saying commending the special teams, which I called elite on Twitter earlier in the game. Hey, great job with the Clayton Tune, throw short of the sticks on the fake punt. It was terrible. But I think it underscores all the struggles offensively.
Here's my point, though. What I was saying last week, if you want Kyler Murray to come back and be your savior on the offensive side of the football, you can't be making mistakes like that when K1's in the lineup.
Do you think they even try that, though, if Kyler Murray's playing?
Probably not. You're probably in a way better situation. I think you have a better performance offensively throughout the game. But this is when you hit the reset button back in January and you're going with a first-year head coach and you're going first-year coordinators, and then you've got Jeff Rodgers. I think Jeff Rodgers, as a special teams coordinator, probably should have stepped up in that situation and told JG, hey, if they give us this look, got to shut it down.
Yeah.
It was just a collapse as far as from the coaching staff in that moment, and that's concerning. And you just hope that they take from it and they learn from it. Like we've seen a lot of good from them going for it and the trickeration that they've got on special teams, but it was a part of the issue. Like you're just not rewarding your defense for how well it played in the second half. Nick Rollis, with all the calls that they were making, all the turnovers they were forcing, and the lack of yardage that they were getting in the second half offensively for Seattle, you didn't reward them in that moment.
And you had Budda Baker and Garrett Williams back, and I think that BG made a huge difference. We were talking about it at halftime. Like, it's amazing, especially like that goal line stand. Seattle gets inside like the 2-yard line. You prevent them there. I mean, they didn't score a touchdown in the second half. I think a lot of us thought after how Geno Smith performed in the first half, Seattle was en route to 30 points. To hold them to 20 points and win the turnover battle 3-0, again, you didn't see it reflected on the scoreboard at the end of the game, but it gives you confidence moving forward that this defense, when it has the pieces in place, can certainly be competitive.
For sure. And, they had flashes in the first half. The second half was obviously the best half for the defense.
Yeah.
I mean, they only allowed 6 points. Seattle got all the way into scoring range a couple of times, and they stopped them. One, there's a stop on 4th down. 2, you force an interception inside the red zone. I mean, it's just the defense played out of their mind.
Yeah.
And you get those pieces back. You get that Budda Baker back. You get your rookie and Garrett Williams in there who made a crazy interception today. It made all other types of plays today too as well. So I think that allows your defensive secondary to play a little bit looser. We still are lacking at the corner position. Mm-hmm. But, it wasn't as heavy. You didn't see too many guys getting beat way over the top like we've seen in past weeks, which is a credit to Budda because now you've got your all-pro safety back in there. Now you've got quarterbacks thinking, those passes those guys were completing the last couple of weeks might not be there with Budda Baker in the secondary. So I think that brings an element of, hope and stuff that your defense is playing well. I mean, but at this point, it doesn't matter if your defense goes out there and gives up 3 points. If you can't score any points, it doesn't do anything for you.
Bingo. I mean, hit the nail on the head, and it's unfortunate that they can't. I mean, they were able to do it in Dallas. They were able to marry a defensive performance with an offensive performance, and then now it feels like it's every other game. It's like one game the defense is getting gashed and it can't compete in the second half, and then the next you got the defense showing up in the second half and the offense can't go and get it going in the second half, and that's really unfortunate. And that's how you stack losses, and that's why they're staring that they're in the middle of a losing skid now, and it doesn't seem like the end is in sight until they get solid quarterback play again, and that's not going to come until Kyler Murray is ready to go.
We're going to talk about Kyler Murray. We're also going to talk about the draft standings as it relates to the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals, they have moved up, and it'll be up to Kyler Murray, fair or not, to get them to move down before the Cardinals have a pivotal decision to make at quarterback. But first, I want to get to some of these super chats. If we could, producer Damon, AZ fan 1998, friend of the program, K1 needs to return. Too many missed opportunities that the defense made. I'm happy that Garrett Williams got a pick. Hopefully K1 returns this week against the Baltimore Ravens. I think that's best case scenario. We've been told here on the show they'd like for him to return at home. So whether that's Baltimore or 2 weeks later against Atlanta, I mean, to my co-host Bo Brock's point, like this team's going to struggle to score points until Kyler Murray's back. And he's got to put on the Superman cape and be able to convert, field goals into touchdowns, sustainable drives where this team just doesn't look inept right now like they do with fair or not with Josh Dobbs. And it's going to be very interesting, gentlemen. Like when Kyler Murray does come back, what is their record? Is it 1-7? Is it 1-8? And then everybody's going to be having the same conversation. Why is he returning? And what is this hope for the Cardinals to do? But we've been consistent in our messaging, Bo. They want to see Kyler Murray on this team, fair or not, in 2023 to assess where they're going to go in 2024 and beyond.
Yeah, the thing that is concerning but not concerning is that this organization has remained steadfast as far as their approach to Kyler Murray. Like nothing is going to push them in the direction to put him out there on the field quicker than they want it to.
Yeah.
Outside of the plan. I'm really curious to see if they watch the tape and they look at the progression from Kyler Murray from this past week, working out with the twos against the first team off defense, and then how he does early this week, as early as Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
Does Jonathan Gannon at some point, because I said they are going to have to be not patient, but they have to keep themselves from maybe pulling the trigger too quick on this one.
Well, and I think it helps you if you're
if you're
hesitant to make that decision what Baltimore did to Detroit today, albeit at home, just completely manhandled a contender in the NFC, did the Baltimore Ravens against the Detroit Lions, BG. But I feel like right now the Cardinals have reached a ceiling with Joshua Dobbs, at least with no James Conner. Like, fair or not, this is what you're going to get, because most Sundays you win the turnover battle by 3+ turnovers, you're blowing teams out. And right now the Cardinals are losing by double digits. That's a testament to the talent or lack thereof.
No, it's definitely lack thereof at the moment. I mean, we have positions that need to be filled, especially offensively and offensive line. We still have a few receiver questions. We got tight end questions. We got some holes that need to be filled. But at the same time, like you said, Bo, I don't know if this is a point where you try to rush a Kyler Murray to come back this week, because he's been a week in the offense, right? Which means this will be week 2.
Well,
do you put him out there in a situation with a flailing offensive line?
Hang on. Before you answer that, I think the biggest concern is for him to have something of a re-injury, and you want to make sure he can protect himself and the Cardinals can protect him. Like right now, the offensive line's got some shit to figure out. Baltimore's got a top 5 defense in the NFL. I also feel like this team and this fan base has hope, and the hope is Kyler Murray returning this year and watching Kyler Murray. I remember a year where we had to watch Sam Bradford and Josh Rosen for 16 weeks, and that season was the ultimate slog. The worst thing that could happen, Bo, is you put Kyler Murray out there next week, God forbid something happens, and you have to turn back to Joshua Dobbs. Yeah. And that's the last place this franchise wants to be. So you're taking it in the teeth in the short term, asking people to be patient with the idea that Kyler Murray is going to get us to the finish line at some point in 2023.
The long game, right?
Yeah, well, you have to make sure that he's ready mentally. Confidence has got to be ready. I mean, he can say everything he wants to on TV and in interviews and stuff during the week, but it's got to be mentally up here in between those lines, because you're looking at a Baltimore defense that flies around, especially that front 7. So do you put him in a situation where you've got your backup left tackle in the game? Well, I mean, DJ should be back next week. I don't know. I don't know how they
I think he'll be back.
handle that off
Probably get
of
a fine.
ejections, but I mean, even if not, DJ's been struggling on the left side of this year anyway. Paris Johnson probably had his worst game at right tackle of this season so far. Is that something you want to put a not completely confident Kyler Murray in? I don't think that's what you want to do.
Let's get to another the Super Chats, Damon Dog, if we could. Milwaukee Braves, friend of the program, $4.99. Thank you so much. Not a fan of the play calling today and in most of these games this year, especially when we get behind. It seems like play it safe and gets conservative. I think there's a concern right now with the coaching staff of a turnover-happy Joshua Dobbs, especially with what we saw these last 2 weeks. I think they made a point of emphasis today, like keep everything in front of you. We're going to play it conservative to a point, but I think if you're going to do that, you need to run the football and run it more effectively, and they didn't do that. Topic 64, $1.99 Super Chat. 34, Jalen Thompson is coming back to guaranteed. That's Jalen Thompson, as Topic 64 is alluding to. I mean, let's talk about this defensive secondary. Jalen Thompson poised to return. Budda Baker was good today. And then how about our player of the game, gentlemen? It's rookie Garrett Williams. First career interception in his first career game. It's great to see a 21 rocking Arizona Cardinal defensive back securing interceptions on an NFL Sunday, BG. I mean, he had that interception, turned around, made a nice play on the football, didn't embarrass himself today. I think the Cardinals, very much like the quarterback position, the secondary is only going to get better as the season progresses.
I do. I agree there, too. And it's very good having him in there. You saw what he could do today. He covered well. He was in the box. He made tackles. That interception was unbelievable. Getting his head around in a situation like that, making that catch as a defensive back, which I'll say it, they have lacking hands in the department, but he made a hell of a play on that. So it's good to get him in the mix. It's good that he's had some success early so he can build off of that. He'll have confidence going into next week. Budda Baker's still here. He had did we see any magical play from Budda? No, but you can guarantee he was around the ball all day long like he always is. So he's got the game under his belt. He's tested out that hamstring in game time action. I think it'll just get better in the secondary.
Go ahead, Bo Brock.
No, I mean, I was just checking out the stats, how bad this offense has been. This team is +3 in turnover differential on the season.
Oh, my God.
And they're 1-6. Like, you don't see that. You don't see that happen in the league. Like, usually, like, you win the turnover battle, you're usually, a close to 500 team. They are far from that.
And look at the thing. They put the graphic on the TV, outscored 64-7 in the fourth quarter.
Do you think the team, and either you can answer this, do you think either Jonathan Gannon and Monty Ossenford, they regret their approach, mainly Ossenford, this offseason, knowing how competitive the team would be and then choosing not to add some players in free agency to fortify certain positions. Because I think, again, I know you've kind of scoffed at this notion. I think spending a little bit more money in March could have been the difference between 2 to 3 more wins right now. Now, that might end up being the difference between going 2-15 and 6-10 or whatever, 6-11.
Where are you allocating those funds, though? Defensive line, cornerback? How does that help your offense right now? I mean,
I think maybe go out and get a left guard. I think, again, I've talked about getting an heir apparent to James Conner so you're not starting an undrafted free agent with Joshua Dobbs. I think, again, paying Joshua Dobbs in March and getting him earlier. Like, I think it's got to be tough for Ossenford to watch this team be this close, yet this far. And, like, yeah, they had a gaffe today on special teams. That was the first time I really felt like this year, like, yeah, not a great coaching decision. You know, Petzine's issues aside with offensive play calling, I've really felt like all of their losses have been attributed to personnel. Like, it is not, man, we were the better team today. We had better players, and we just fumbled it, Brandon Staley style. I feel like it's the opposite with this team. They're playing over their head. Right. And so I want, but they sat out. This is before Britten joined the show. They set out free agency. They did not participate. They didn't. They signed Kazir White to a 2-year deal. Will Hernandez re-signed, and that was about it. And everybody's like, we have this money, go spend it. And they said they wanted to hoard it for a year.
Yeah, see, that's you knew you needed help in the backfield. You have James Conner.
Yeah.
James Conner is a great running back. He's great for this franchise. When he's healthy, he does great things. He's averaging, 5-6 yards a carry every time he touches the ball. Then what do you have? And like we said earlier, this is not a knock to an Ingram. It's not a knock to DeMarcado, whoever else is in that backfield. But you knew you didn't have some type of star power as a backup. So if you lose your number one guy, now you're out here just reaching and searching, praying that one of these lower level guys is going to show up and just turn into, something great. And when you had a Kareem Hunt sitting out there, you got Leonard Fournette still sitting out there. You've got guys that have established, that have run the ball well and done it in big time games that are sitting at home because you didn't want to spend money.
Gardner Minshew signed a 1-year, $3.5 million deal with Indianapolis, had 4 fucking touchdowns against the Cleveland Browns today. Gardner Minshew was in Philadelphia with Jonathan Gannon. Gannon watched him win games.
He was also there with Shane Steichen. You think he's going to follow the defensive guy or the offensive guy?
Put some more cash in front of him. Give him $5 million. But they sat back and they said, Colt McCoy's our guy, until he wasn't, and they had to panic.
We understand that they fumbled that. They fumbled that, and that's you don't mess around with the quarterback position. You can't have the question marks that they had throughout the offseason and then take it as long as they did all the way up until about a week and a half before the season. That everybody's on record of acknowledging that
we have to keep bringing it up.
That was a fumble.
I like that bottom comment right there, Trevor. Because it's a fact. Go back and look at everything, even from when I was here. Look at it. We signed Tyrann Mathieu to a big deal. We don't like it. Let's get rid of him. Right. He goes and wins the Super Bowl.
They told DeAndre Hopkins to eat grass, and they ate a bunch of money.
And now you're lacking in
I do think
personnel departments.
In this specific instance, Bo and Britten, it was a scenario in which they said, we want a clean slate for 2024. I don't know if they thought these games were going to be so winnable. The Cardinals could have easily, and I know people scoff at this because they're 1-6, they could have 4 wins right now.
Easily.
They could have beaten the Giants, the Commanders, and easily today. This was a winnable game. You get marginal offensive play today, you win this game.
With Josh Dobbs at quarterback.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
We should have 4 or 5 wins this season with Josh Dobbs being the quarterback, which is...
And again, I know everybody's all in 2024. We're going to talk about the draft picks. We're going to talk about the draft order. But, man, for these young players, I still think winning now means something.
It does. But, at the end of what was the old Moneyball? It's you really – was your season a success if you don't win the final game of the year, right? And then, you look at where the Arizona Cardinals were and being realistic about it and looking at the shape of the roster that Steve Keim left this just in shambles.
It is
and the mess that they had to clean up and said, hey, I believe in Jonathan Gannon. Gannon believes in his coaching staff. Monty Ossenford sees some players that I'm sure he believes in, that he's handpicked and maybe kind of waded through kind of the previous roster and figured out who they can move forward with, at least to this point. But you got to be realistic. What do getting those wins really give you? What do they really?
You don't think it's
give
like
you?
a confidence boost for these guys?
I think that they understand that if they continue in their their number one like battle cries, like trust the process, and then the results are going to follow. And I think that there's still enough time in the season to where if they trust the process, Kyler Murray comes back and they win a couple games and they get it going at the end of the season instead of week 7 here against the Seattle Seahawks, they're willing for that to be the case.
No, I get that. I see this scenario. You talk about Bidwell still paying the bills. Of course he is. But he's paying bills that he initiated. He didn't have to extend Khan.
No.
He didn't have to extend Cliff Kingsbury. He gave them 6-year extensions after a bullshit of a season.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you went 9-1. And then what happened? You lost 8 straight. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. And then you extended him, and then you fired him a year later. Like, that's your bed. You made that bed.
Yeah, it was
You
inexplicable.
paid them all that money for no fucking reason, and now you going to say he's still paying the bills. He ain't got no choice. He's the owner.
Yeah.
That was a dumb decision. Now you got to eat it.
The Cardinals are wiping the slate clean, which is probably, your point, the right move long term. But in the short term, it's Cardinal fans who have to suffer.
Sure.
They have to suffer
And they've
through a
suffered
season.
far
Right.
too long.
That's what
for
and
sure.
We sat here watching it. They've lost a lot. These losses start to mount. But this show will persevere. Everybody like this video right now. We're going to talk.
Can I say this real quick?
Yeah.
This is not for the faint of heart. A rebuild, especially at this stage in the game, especially since they came to the desert in the late 80s, and they really haven't won since they've gotten here, right? They just have been brutal ever since with some outlying seasons.
Yeah.
And one that, the Super Bowl run, Britten, the NFC Championship game run that your team had, like those really energized this football and turned it into a football market. But for at this stage in the game to hit the reset button and then expect the fan base to be patient in the rebuild, I know that's unrealistic. But reality is that's where they are. But and you have to have some sort of confidence that they have the right people in place. And when we talk about the overall decision maker and how everything trickles down from the top, that at least I think he got those decisions right so far. Like, I like what I've seen from Gannon. I like what I've seen from Monty Ossenfort. And Bidwell's dealing with his own crap and trying to move forward from that. And there's still going to be some things that are ingrained that has to be weeded out. And there's still going to be bad-looking, horrible stories that are going to come out from the last 2 decades that are going to make this organization look bad. But when you look at this, where they are at this stage in the rebuild, you have to like what you've seen from JG, and you have to like what you've seen from Monty Ossenfort's ability to identify, not top money talent on the free agent market, not going out there and trying to fill every hole with, fool's gold, and then also winning in the draft. And I know, we'll look at B.J. Ojulari, and you want more production from B.J. Ojulari, and your top draft pick, Paris Johnson, had a rough day today. But overall, I think that you like what you've seen from Monty Ossenfort. So, rebuilds, they're tough, man. Especially on a week-to-week basis, where you see wins and they're within your grasp, or they're right there, and the team comes up short for reasons A, B, and C. But this is a part of the process, and it's not for the faint of heart.
No.
Cardinals have 6 picks right now projected in the top 80 picks in the 2024 NFL draft. We're going to talk about that, but first, your boy, I've been doing well on my pregame picks during our pregame show, over 60%. My percentage is going to take a hit today. I took a couple lofty plus money bets for all of you because I try to make everybody money on the pregame show. I went over 3. Joshua Dobbs over 211 passing yards, big stinker. Cardinals plus 220 to take the lead in a halftime. That did not hit. And, of course, my Trey McBride flyer plus 3,000 first touchdown. He almost kind of scored earlier. He hurled the guy. That should count for something.
He wanted it for you.
Yeah.
It was a good hurdle. It was an athletic hurdle.
I think anybody who's watching
Very
Zach
athletic.
Ertz right now knows that Trey McBride needs red zone targets.
We ever seen a tight end hurdle a guy like that before?
Not for the Cardinals. I'm sure Travis
Antonio
Kelce's
Gates
done it.
ever do that?
Yeah.
Probably.
I mean, Travis Kelce's tried to hurdle.
Yeah.
I'm sure Evan Ingram's hurdled a few people. That's an athletic
The problem
tight
with
end.
the Cardinals offense, they feature 2 tight ends. You got to play Ertz anyway. It's rough sledding. Is it rough sledding for you on the betting scene? Hopefully not, because you're hanging out with us. BetMGM Sportsbook at the BetMGM app. Sign up with bonus code PHNX. Bet a mere $10. You're going to get $200 in additional winnings, no matter the outcome of your wager. It's super easy. Download the app right now, iOS or Android. Go to BetMGM.com. Sign up with bonus code PHNX. Again, $10 Place it on any single game event on BetMGM's app. You get $200 in additional wagers, no matter how your wager does. Win or lose, you put it on the Cardinal money line today, you just get $200 in additional winnings regardless of that outcome. Check out the show notes for full details now. Listen to my guy Shane Diefenbach talk about it in the disclaimer.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Nevada, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in D.C., New York, or Ontario.
Here's something that's going to make you feel a lot better here in just the next 48 hours. The NBA preseason is in the rearview mirror, and Phoenix Suns basketball is regular season come Tuesday night. Place you want to be locked into it is Arizona's Family with your new TV home of the Phoenix Suns. 70-plus games right in your living room. Find the games on Arizona's Family 3 TV and Arizona Family Sports. All you need is an antenna. You just those rabbit ears. Many options available, local retailers or online. They're indoor, outdoor varieties. Every price point, you can find them. They're going to get you settled up there with Arizona Family, Arizona's Family Sports, antenna over the air. If you got Cox Cable, it's Channel 13, Channel 44, Channel 3, 3.5. They've got options for you wherever you live in Arizona. Visit azfamily.com. Click Suns Games for listing information in your area. It's a great resource to help you find your Phoenix Suns games on Arizona Family Sports. Suns right around the corner.
Get to some more of these super chats. Then we're going to pull an audible and talk draft. Dirt Bike Boys 714 $1.99. So we're tanking for Marvin Harrison Jr. now. I don't think they're tanking, but it could just be a happy coincidence if they end up with the playmaker from Ohio State. Britten, did you watch him over the weekend?
He had another just ridiculous game, which is just becoming a thing now, I think, every week for him. But, I mean, like John said, I don't think they're taking for him. But, I mean, luck of the draw could pull him in. I mean, if it happens, it happens. That'd be a nice little addition outside. We talked about that earlier in the show. But
we're here at BetMGM at the Great Lawn and Bo. I see retired numbers kind of outside the stadium. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't it just be very apropos, poetic to have a 1-8 out there just one day? I think it would be good.
There's got to be an 11 first.
That comes before that, well before that. But when I'm old, walking around with a cane, I want to see a number 18 outside of this stadium.
Could be as early as, next year you're walking with a cane. But, no, I mean, look, 11 catches, 162, and a sledge of a game against Penn State. And he's the outlet. He's the only guy that put up big numbies. You love it. I mean, and you hope that that's not the case next season. But I also wouldn't mind, this is my dream, right? That Kyler Murray comes back. He ends any questions as far as his future as the quarterback here in the desert, and they can utilize those two top picks and build around this team. Yeah. Give some help on defense, give some help in the trenches up front there. We saw, it's a nice offensive line unit, but not great, right? They had a tough day out there. If you can maybe bolster it by adding a franchise caliber left tackle out there, it changes a lot of things.
Everybody like this video right now. Let's get this to 200 likes. Help your fellas out here. Let's get to some more of these super chats if we could. Damon Dog, $5 from Z Professor, friend of the program. According to Tankathon's website, we have the second hardest remaining schedule behind the Bengals. Hot damn.
How the hell does that happen? They went 4-13 last year.
Because they play in the NFC West.
Yeah.
They play in the NFC West where multiple playoff teams get there every year.
Every year.
The Colts and the Texans get to play in that dog shit division. Whatever the hell's happening with the NFC South, it's basically ACC football.
The AFC East is shit too.
That's right. AZ Moses 89, $2. Only bright spot today. Player of the game, quarterback Garrett Williams. You like what you see. Marco Wilson again looked overmatched. Not a good game for Marco. It's like, okay, let's just quickly get number 21 BG acclimated so he can seemingly take that spot.
Oh, for sure. I think this was a big step for him today, especially with the success he had. So hopefully that the coaches see, okay, I think he's ready. Yes, he was in the slot a lot, but it's fine. I mean, honestly, I know this is not what you want to hear if you're Marco Wilson, but can't get much worse outside.
Right.
So at this point, we've seen Garrett Williams have success. We've seen him catch an interception in his first game. He's made tackles. He made some other plays on the ball. It might be time to stick him outside.
Yeah.
And with JT coming back, he can be sticking in the slot. And you've got Buddha You got JT and then Garrett Williams. You can
still
start
Kayvon
to
Wallace in there too.
Kayvon, some options, some upgrades, and then like this offseason, I think, can you go find JG a Darius Slay type guy, somebody that maybe the league isn't high on, but you put him in this defense and it's an immediate upgrade, and you can see guys not losing one-on-one battles to Jake fucking Bobo on third down. And giving an egregious Santonio Holmes toe tap in the end zone.
I mean,
Bobo looked like a Pro Bowler today.
Yeah. Pro Bowl? Pro Bowl
Bobo?
The defense, like 318 yards allowed for the defense. They forced
118 in the second half.
They forced 2 turnovers. Lockett was 4 for 38, and their second touchdown that they had could have gone either way. I mean, the defense, let's give them a round of applause.
Yeah.
I thought that hell of a performance. Like,
great day.
And you're playing Garrett Williams and Keitrell Clark and B.J. Ojolari's mixed in there. Zaven Collins had a sack. Like, at the end of the day, as deprived as they are talent-wise, and they are deprived, right? A lot of these guys won't be here next year. You feel good about the defense because of who's running the show. It's your head coach, Jonathan Gannon, and it's Nick Rallis. Like, the offense is going to be quarterback dependent, and we see that now. And that's not an out clause for Drew Petzing, but that's just the lay of the land. When you've got a head coach that specializes in defense, like, you got to have a franchise quarterback. And do the Cardinals have one? Yes. Now, will that change? I don't know. Let's go to our 2024 NFL Draft standings right now. Here's the updated order following today's early slate, afternoon slate of games. Well. Look at it. The Arizona Cardinals now sandwiched in between the Chicago Bears, 1 and 3. Of course, the Bears owning Carolina Bo's first overall pick. The Broncos beat the Packers. The Patriots beat the Bills. The Giants beat the Commanders. It was upset special today. For everybody not named the Arizona Cardinals, Dan Brugler, who is a draft savant, tripled down on it this weekend, saying the first 3 picks will be some combination. Caleb Williams, Drake May, Marvin Harrison Jr. And right now, after 7 weeks of play, Cardinals are in that derby for better or worse.
Well, yeah, but the Bears can't pick 2 quarterbacks, right? And the Broncos on the outside looking in, they might have to give up some draft capital to get up there if they want to move on from Russ. And the Giants are going to have to move on, and the Patriots, those are teams that are just on the outside looking in, that are in striking distance of some very good prospects, that if you figure out the quarterback position, primarily staying in-house and moving forward with Kyler Murray, it makes the Arizona Cardinals, like Monty Osfort, can just, he could get an absolute just haul for the second overall pick.
And you have to.
Yeah.
There's nobody else in that draft that I'm going, I don't care.
You don't think you can get on the phone with the Broncos, the Giants, the Patriots?
I would. If you're asking me what Marvin. I would do, I would do that and get a haul and take Marvin Harrison Jr. or you can't, hypothetically in that scenario, you got to take Joe Alt, which is a good, compensatory plan. But I don't think that if you're finishing the season and Kyler Murray, let's just hypothetically say like those are it. That's the final standing.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward now, and we get 8-9 games of Kyler Murray, like they're gonna have discussions about a certain quarterback from Chapel Hill. They're going to have discussions about Drake May. I feel like, number one, you listen to every scout, Drake May has closed the gap to some degree on Caleb Williams, so much so that there are teams that have Drake May number 1 in their quarterback ranking entering the 2024 offseason. I would not do that.
Yeah.
But I think, I'm not going to sit here and say they're going to absolutely trade the pick if they have number 2. No one can say that right now.
If you have number 2, the best available on that thing, if you're not going to go for a quarterback, is Marvin Harrison Jr. And I think that's one of those receiver-type guys that you cannot say, I want to trade this away because I want to go after something. I think that's one that you got to bring in.
But you can't have a situation in which you have Marvin and a quarterback that the franchise doesn't believe in.
No,
they have to believe in Kyler Murray.
I agree. That's got to be the point where you have to have trust that Kyler's going to be your guy. But that's just one of those guys.
We got to color this up a little bit. We got to add context to it, right? Because if you're sitting there and you're second overall, that likely means you're getting not much better performance.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I know. Well, then that's a slam dunk.
Then you're taking Drake May.
Yeah, if you're getting Dobbs-esque performances from Kyler Murray and he's got a $230.5 million contract that's about to kick in, that's an easy answer. But I legitimately don't think that's going to happen.
But what if you see, now this is just hypothetical.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kyler plays great ball, but they still suck. They still don't win.
That's why I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying? So Kyler could go out here and throw for 300 and something, and then we give up special teams makes his mistake.
That's
the
why I'm
defense
saying
makes mistakes,
context
and then
matters here. Like there's going, and finishing with the second overall pick and seeing the final record, but then seeing how you got there. And if you got there and it's Kyler Murray going out there and putting up big numbers, in that would certainly eclipse the numbers you've seen from Josh Dobbs, and you see a huge upgrade at the quarterback position, but the team falls short because, don't get me wrong, there's still a huge talent disparity here between the Cardinals and the rest of their schedule. As somebody just pointed out, second hardest schedule in the rest of going down the stretch here. It very well could happen, right? But if you learn enough about Kyler Murray, then yes, then we're talking about, hey, are you trading out or are you taking Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Last year, for some context, the first 5 teams, 6 teams, 7 teams, frankly, maybe 8 teams in the 2023 NFL Draft suffered from poor quarterback play. Carolina moved on from whatever the hell they were doing at quarterback. They took Bryce Young. Houston at 2 after their trade down with Chicago, right? They got a new quarterback. The Cardinals at pick 3, they didn't have Kyler Murray. They had Colt McCoy and a bunch of scrub players, frankly. Indianapolis was starting Nick Foles at the end of the year. Typically, the teams that are drafting within the first 3 to 5 picks plus have horrific quarterback play for long stretches of the season. So again, it goes to the point of, if Kyler Murray comes back, if let's say hypothetically he comes back, which is what I believe is going to happen against the Atlanta Falcons, he comes back in 2 weeks and plays at State Farm Stadium, and you get 8 games from Kyler Murray, and Kyler Murray goes 2-6 in those games, and you end up with 3 wins, which is likely enough to secure you a top 3 pick. I mean, they're going to have conversations. With teams like Chicago on your schedule, Houston notwithstanding, Atlanta, of course, Pittsburgh with Kenny Pickett, baby hands. They're going to have some hurdles to overcome. I don't know if there is a scenario in which Kyler Murray plays well and they still don't win. I think that if Kyler Murray's doing 2-to-1 touchdown interceptions ratio, you ought to be able to win
for sure
3 to 5 games when he comes back.
Yeah. I mean, if Kyler Murray plays well, they're not going to lose out.
Right.
They'll put him in opportunities to win games, which they still have to finish the win games. But,
Do you think they hypothetically say, how many games would we have in the bag if Kyler was our quarterback now? Can they contextualize that? Because next year you're going to be under certain circumstances where you're going to have another 4th-place schedule. If Kyler was here, we would have beaten the Giants and the Commanders and the Seahawks. Are they allowed to do that, or is everything a clean? Okay,
he just has to show it, and I don't think that's asking too much, and I don't think he wants to show it.
Yeah,
Kyler Murray's coming back with a huge chip on his shoulder. He's chomping the bit. I'm sure he wanted to play this week. I'm sure he's going to do everything within his power to get out there a week from today against Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. Now, Jonathan Gannon said he told him he was practicing. I'll take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
I don't think he has that much power as far as when he's going to play, because I think he would have been designated return a lot earlier, and he would have started this process a lot earlier as well. But he's coming back with a huge chip on his shoulder, and he's going to want to come out here and ball out and make it, no questions asked. No questions asked. And in this organization, the way that, he's wanting to play, and the way that Hollywood Brown says that he's not, he said himself, he's not coming back to be average.
Right.
And if you see above average quarterback play, I think that gives enough confidence to this organization. Hey, our quarterback position is not a question. Let's move forward. Let's use this draft capital we have. Let's use all the assets, maybe create more assets, and expedite this rebuild.
Damon Dog, any more super chats to check out here in the chat? This is from 4C33, $2. I'm with Britten. Golden draft Marvin Harrison Jr. if he's there. Alt if not. I think it would be a tough call for those saying trade down more picks or stick and pick, get Marvin Harrison Jr. I would be inclined, as much as I love draft capital, how many shots do you get into Marvin Harrison Jr.?
That's what I'm saying. That's when you look at that, you look at the draft board and you see best available. Mm-hmm. It's, do you really want to pass on some? I mean, we've done that in the past. We've passed on some. We passed on trading up for some quarterbacks that are threw for 400 yards today.
Yep.
It's
that. I mean, that's the reason why you have your picks, is to take generational players like that. You can get pick, heavy, or you pick greedy, and say, well, I'm going to pass on the next Calvin Johnson, Larry Fitzgerald. Just this team, if you watch them on Sundays, is so deprived of top-end premium talent. I think Gannon is enough of a quality head coach, even after these first 7 games, to elevate players from average to maybe good or from below average to average. But the top 10%, 5%, those blue chippers, the Cardinals don't have enough of those. They've got maybe 2 or 3, including Kyler Murray. And you hope like Paris Johnson Jr. can develop into that. But right now it's like you were waiting and hoping and begging for a Marvin Harrison-esque type of performance. Somebody to come out here, snatch the ball, make plays, overcome bad quarterback play. And the Cardinals just don't have that personnel right now. Yeah. But in the meantime, if you want to rally with our friends at Circle K. Go get yourself a Polar Pop on us. Go get some pizza, coffee, ice-cold fountain drinks. Again, buy one, get one free Polar Pop. Become a part of their inner circle. It's America's Thirst Stop, our friends, the free membership program. Again, join that inner circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Of course, terms and conditions apply. At participating locations, visit CircleK.com for more information. I'm going to check out Circle K after today's game. I'm going to load up on gas. Premium gas, not a premium price. I'm going to get caffeinated up because I need to after watching this offense. Put me to sleep for 4 quarters. Maybe do a buy one, get one free unsweetened iced tea with our friends at Circle K, Bo.
Yeah, you can't beat what they have. When you join the Inner Circle free app, as Johnny mentioned, it costs you nothing, but it's going to save you big over at Circle K. Also, it's going to save you, as I went on my soapbox and said this isn't for the faint of heart. Here's how you can help with that in a rebuild. Here's how you can keep your spirits high, keep yourself high, how you can keep yourself relaxed. Our friends over at OG's Brands, of course, Arizona's favorite cannabis kitchen. You can't go wrong. You like the fruits, you like the creams, you like a mix of that, or you're just specific to either the fruit or the creams. You like the rat apple? We'll go with the fruits. You like the creams, the blackberry and cream, the orange creamsicle? Creams are for you. You like a little variety? Is that the spice of your life? You get those mix bags, come in 100 milligrams. Go find them at your local dispensary. Check out all these Hall of Fame flavors at ogsbrands.com, O-G-E-E-Z brands.com. Follow them on your socials as well. Do not miss out on Arizona's favorite cannabis kitchen and what they're cooking up. OG's Brands.
Love this comment here in the chat. Terrell Suggs, ring any bells? The Cardinals had 2 first-round picks. Used them on Calvin Pace, Bryant Johnson. Double bust for you and passing on a Hall of Fame talent like Terrell Suggs. So, yeah, sometimes you can get pick greedy and not work out for you. Here's what worked out for the Cardinals today in counting cards. And look at this. It's mostly all on the defensive side of the football. In fact, it is. Starting with the All-Pro returning Budda Baker at a tackle for loss, had 6 tackles, second on the team. And BG, we talked about it. Just his mere presence alone. Didn't have a bunch of splashy plays, but it's like, is it a coincidence that the Cardinals had Budda Baker in the lineup and they had their best defensive performance in weeks?
Oh, no. And that's the thing. It comes to it. It just shows that just having Budda in the lineup changes everything. Right? I know some people wanted to see a wild, interception game, sack game, whatever you could see from Budda. But if you go back and watch the tape, I guarantee you Budda is in or around that ball at the end of every defensive play. At least he's or making a play to get to that ball, right? Which just shows it's just the swarming attitude that he has, the no-fear attitude getting to the ball. So I think that brings an element to the defense.
Budda Baker's been in the lineup 2 games this year. Week 1 against Washington, they gave up 22 points, which was supplemented by couple short fields for that Washington offense, and then this previous game they give up 20 points to where they use a short field to pack on the final 3 points of the game on going for it on the crazy special teams play. Budda Baker on the defense makes an absolute difference. I mean, this is a team, a unit that couldn't get off the field with him not there, and now they're averaging around 20.5 points given up. Yeah, that's enough. That's good enough in today's NFL. If that's the brand of defensive football they can play, and then add JT back to that next week potentially. I like what I've seen so far with Budda Baker is a difference maker, no doubt about it.
Well, we talk about it every week. Like, who's part of this team in 2024? Who's a building block? It's like Budda and Jalen. You would assume are both on the team. They're plus players, and then Garrett Williams is a rookie. Keitrell Clark. So you're starting to get the ingredients, the pieces for what that secondary in 2024 is going to be anchored by. And so far, so good after today. Let's go back to counting cards, if we could, producer Damon. Zaven Collins, like I tongue-in-cheek say it's going to be one of the, the sleepiest, non-noisiest sack, 8 to 10 sack seasons in recent memory. Yes, he was unblocked. He did have a sack day. He's got 3.5 on the year. Cardinals are top 10 in sacks. And what that tells me, BG, it is wild. And not to knock Zaven Collins, but I'm going to do it anyway. I think it's a byproduct of the scheme and the coaching staff and guys being put in positions to succeed, which is great. But I don't know if I see that blue chip edge rusher on the roster. But it's nice to see Zaven converting from inside to outside, be at least a viable starting player.
Well, it's good. I mean, he's in the backfield. He still had to make that tackle for the sack at the end of the day, so whether he was unblocked or not. But it's good. You want to see it. We've got multiple guys. Like you said, Cardinals have a lot of sacks this year.
Yeah.
And it's coming from a lot of different guys. I think Dennis Gardeck leads the team with 4 sacks.
Yeah.
Right? So there's another building block you can keep for 2024. Mark that one. He ain't going nowhere.
Okay.
But, yeah, so it's one of those things where it's a sleepy sack, though, like you said.
Yeah.
He had a sack, yes, but what other pressure did we have today?
Not enough, but again, I think you get a blue chip 5 technique, 3 technique edge rusher, whatever you opt to get, it's going to make everybody on that defensive line
100%.
better. Like when Calais Campbell was in his heyday with you on those 2015 Bruce Arian teams, like other guys like Marcus Golden and then eventually Chandler Jones, they all fed off each other and they made each other better.
Kareem Martin in there. You had a bunch of guys on the outside that could feed off of, Frosty Rucker was another big name that was down in the trenches.
Rodney Gunter for a little bit.
Gunter for a bit. We had a lot of guys that got in the mix inside, and when you have a guy like that inside that can command, it's like having an Aaron Donald on your team.
Yeah.
Right? And Aaron Donald lines up, doesn't matter where he lines up, he's demanding 2 different people.
Yeah.
Whether it's a running back, a tight end shipping, which allows all of your other guys to go one-on-one. Now they just got to beat one man and get back, which helps with the pass rushing. We just don't have that one guy on the team that says, I demand multiple bodies.
Stay with me on this analogy.
Okay.
You wake up one day and you're like, I want to change my life. I want to get into shape, right?
Yeah.
You start going to the gym and stuff like that. You're checking that box off every day. And then, but you wake up, you say, I'm hungry. You put down a donut, right? You got everything in place. You're following the workout plan.
Yep.
But you're not getting it diet wise. You're putting shit in your body, right? And it's the empty calories. I think that's what these sacks are right now. Everything else is in place, right? Everything else is in place. You've got a good structure. You just need a little bit. Maybe a little bit better diet to get it going, maybe some better players, more consistent, as you guys have mentioned, maybe from the interior, the defensive line. I see Christian Wilkins in here. Damon Dog, you'd mentioned that free agent to be. If the Miami Dolphins don't maybe give him the bag, maybe use some of that cap space about a good defensive interior player and to fit in that rotation. You get him, and then you get maybe somebody, a dog in the draft, like a Jerzon Newton from Illinois or somebody later in the rounds. Then you're really kind of cooking with grease, I think, as far as getting some impact in the interior of that defensive line.
Somebody who has not made an appearance on Counting Cards this year, it's the rookie that feels like he's left out of the party now with Garrett Williams having a big play day, his interception, to BJ Ojulari, Bo, and I see some people calling it BJ bust. 1 sack today, no pressures, no hurries, basically on the season. Like, is this a byproduct of he can't hit on all the picks? It's too early to judge. He missed the offseason. Like, what's your assessment of the second rounder out of LSU?
I don't know if you can give him an incomplete just because he had the procedure in the offseason. He hadn't been healthy even during the pre-draft process. There wasn't a ton of production there at LSU, right? So that gives you some concern. Is this just not a guy who's going to make an impact on a down-to-down basis? I think that's something you just have to be patient with right now. I mean, I haven't liked what I've seen so far. I mean, the first glimpse of him, we saw him playing in the preseason against Minnesota, and he just looks slow.
Yeah.
At least he's changed a little bit. Looks like he can at least stay out there and belongs out there. But how is he going to make an impact? How is he going to impact the play? He hasn't figured that out just yet.
Somebody called me on the chat, and listen, I'm probably being too critical. AZ Moses 89. Come on, Johnny. Even if you said it's the scheme to transition from inside to outside edge rusher and having 10 sacks will be a great foundational piece to build with Zaven Collins. I will give credit where credit's due. If we look up at the end of the year and Zaven Collins has somehow got to 10 sacks, like I think he deserves serious consideration, BG, to have his 5th-year option picked up. For this team, when they need critical pressures, because it's not all about sacks.
No,
it's pressures, it's getting in people's face, it's forced fumbles. But you made a good point. Everybody else on this roster, for the most part, has been playing outside linebacker, edge rusher their entire career. This is Zaven Collins' first opportunity to switch it up. So, again, I think I'd be hypocritical if I said, well, he's a finished product. So, again, continue to build off of it.
Oh, for sure. And like you said, this is his first year out doing it. He's got to build, and he will, but he's still young. It's not like he's been in the league for 8-10 years, and he's just, like you said, his ceiling, he hasn't hit the ceiling yet.
No.
right, he's learning a new spot and he's thrown into the fire early, but you want to build off. If you look up and he's got 10 sacks, I mean, yes.
Yeah.
But the 10 sacks are going to come from pressures, and we're not knocking Xavier, neither is Johnny in this part. This goes back to the point we was making a little bit earlier. You need another guy on that defensive line that can allow you to create pressures. If somebody can create pressure, now you're drawing more eyes to that person, which now allows your edge rushers to get more one-on-one opportunities to get back there.
The last player on Counting Cards this week, it's the man who almost had a pick six. It's been a revelation for the Cardinals at off-ball inside linebacker. It's the captain, Bo. It's Kazir White. 2 tackles for loss, the pass defended. And again, the glue inside the middle of that defense, which, again, not exposed today. 20 points allowed, 3 forced turnovers, 2 on the defensive side. It feels like Kazir White's been the staple of this defense all season long.
Yeah, I mean, is it asking too much to have a Superman performance? Maybe he hauls in that pass, that interception, and they go into the locker room with the lead.
Yeah.
Probably, right? I mean, I'm not going to look at somebody who's been playing as well as he had and say, hey, I need more. I mean,
Right.
Jonathan Gannon's probably the only person that can ask Kazir White that much. And like you said, another solid performance from him. As he said, 2 TFLs. And then the 5 combined tackles, he continues to play at a high level. He's doing it in every facet that you need from that off-ball linebacker position.
A very generous super chat from friend of the program, Topic 64. We need to focus on things in the draft. I'll tell you right now on defense, if we get the cornerback room and that D-line room bolstered up, we become a major problem defensively. Did Kayvon Wallace play today? I didn't see him out there. I'm sure he was at least on special teams, but it felt like for the most part it was the Garrett Williams, Marco Wilson, Budda Baker show. But I also feel like, outside of the touchdown pass by Geno Smith, his last one, like the Seahawks really didn't have too many opportunities to throw downfield and to expose the Cardinal defensive back. So that's a testament maybe to the coverage today, BG.
Yeah, and it does. I mean, and like we said, we expected the defensive backfield and the coverage to get a lot better.
Yep.
Having your all-pro safety back there in the middle of the field, it's going to deter a few quarterbacks from trying to make those deep throws into the tight windows again, because now you've got somebody back there that you respect. It was the same way back when the Seahawks had Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor. Teams were very cautious. No, we made those throws because we had Bruce Arians as coach, so he didn't care. We were throwing it deep. But there is that thing in the back of your mind is, can I make this throw with Budda Baker back there, considering it's a backup back there?
Absolutely. Another super chat on deck. You guys are absolutely crushing it. Like this video. This is from Nick499. Hate to speculate, but what do you think we would do if Kyler comes back and gets hurt and the contract stipulation kicks in, Bo? So you've been studying Kyler's contract and when it kicks in this offseason, when they have to make a decision. Walk the fine people through the Cardinals options.
It's early March, right, that you have to make a decision if you're either going to – I mean, releasing him just doesn't seem like it's an option, right?
Yeah.
And then March is really when things kind of guarantee, so you have to make a decision if you're going to move off of him and pull off a trade. You're going to want to get that so you can just absorb the $46 million in change for the 2023 season, and then you can start to maybe take advantage of a rookie quarterback contract. But they're still going to – like they're already anticipating having – close to $80 million to spend regardless. If they're eating $46 million in dead money or they're paying him $50 million against the cap, which they could always restructure as well. And there's different options. I'm going to maintain this. Like, I think this organization is just setting itself up to do and pivot any direction they want to go. And that was the key this offseason. That's why they moved off of DeAndre Hopkins right before June 1st, and they didn't have to absorb any more money beyond 2023. They can roll over the cap space, and when they're sitting there in the middle of January and the regular season is in the rearview mirror, they can start making decisions so they can make quick decisions before the new league year ends. And if they need to move off of Kyler Murray, or if they want to go to a rookie quarterback, or if they want to stay with Kyler Murray and then figure out what the roster looks like with him on it, which I think is the likely scenario here. So, there's just a couple different things in there that I think they're prepared to make those quick decisions.
Yeah, you got to make a decision right now. Become a diehard at GoPHNX.com. Our PHNX Cardinals beat reporter Howard Balzer will have his post-game Seattle recap up in just a matter of hours for free. 90% of the content on the website is free to read. That sweet 10%. Well, you got to become a diehard. Plus, free hat and or shirt, hat with every single year. You are a diehard at GoPHNX.com. How about 20% off all future PHNX events? come yell at Bo and I in the very friendly, yet sometimes hostile PHNX Cardinals member Discord. When people disagree on things, let your voice be heard. Check out some exclusive clips, news, and insight you can't get anywhere else, but you have to be a diehard to do so. I'm going to challenge everybody right now. I want everybody to go to their phone, their mobile device, their smartphone, whatever. We are known to drop at least one audio-only podcast per week. So I want everybody to go to their podcast right now. Go to PHNX_Cardinals, wherever you get your podcast. Pull that up right now. Click the follow button and leave your boys a review. Maybe a 5-star. We would love the 5-star. If you leave us a review right now, screen capture it, send it to me, or send it to PHNX Cardinals. We will post it online on our Twitters. That's a call out for everybody here. You guys have been so supportive. We're trying to take our podcasting game to that next level, and it's a call to action. We need all of you to do so.
Yeah, you could say something funny, whatever it may be. You could say, "What's up, Bronny Venerable? Where's your flannel today?"
It's coming back. It's just triple digits right now.
You can say, "Bo, go work on your hands next time you got a franchise quarterback throwing you the ball." Whatever it may be. You can get after Britten. He can take it.
It's
Right?
tough to rip on Britten when you sit next to Johnny and Bo. It's hard.
But look, we will read your comment on air. We appreciate everybody who interacts with us, obviously on social media. But in there, it's more important, as far as where your podcast hosting site is, gets us in front of more people. So we appreciate that. All right, big question of the day. After the Joshua Dobbs performance, I don't think we've answered this across the board definitively. What does this mean as far as Kyler Murray and when he comes back?
Britten, go ahead and start. I still have to think through how I want to articulate
I think
this.
you have to consider about getting him back sooner than later, but at the same time you have to keep in mind, like we talked about earlier, it's not a rush job. I'm not going to put somebody out there that's not ready to be out there. But the quarterback play's done nothing but go downhill the last couple of weeks, and it's just been worse and worse. Decision-making has been bad, and I don't want to put it all on him because some of these play calls have been really bad too, but it's the same thing. I can't put it all on the play calling because there's some throws that have been atrocious. There's some reads that have been missed tremendously, just bad reads, bad throws, and situations like that, not going through the progression when shit fails immediately. So, yes, you want Kyler back as soon as possible. No, you don't want to put him out there if he's not ready to be there.
The temptation to bring him back, I think, is going to be immense this week. You were at practice every week. He looks fantastic. Here's what I will say, and what we've been saying since March, is that you can be a rebuilding team. You can try to rebuild on the fly. The minute you become inept and unwatchable at the quarterback position is the minute people start doing this. They start tuning out of your product. Plus, you are not able to properly evaluate young players. Michael Wilson, Trey McBride, Hollywood Brown. How are you going to know if you can extend Hollywood Brown if he's not getting the football effectively? So I'm going to tell you right now, it's a business decision, it's a financial decision, and it's a football decision to continue playing or not playing Joshua Dobbs. I think it has a ripple-down effect because right now, you ask anybody in this fan base, you play Dobbs these next 2 weeks respectfully against Baltimore and Cleveland, you are taking L's, barring something unforeseen. Are you comfortable taking L's right now, or do you want to get back in a position where you can enthuse this fan base and evaluate young players offensively? I still think they wait until Atlanta because, to your point, I think they're very stingent and maybe a little bit stubborn on their timeline. It's very similar to the stubborn mindset they had, right or not, this offseason. But I'm going to tell you right now, Joshua Dobbs, the cachet he had, the house money, that's all gone. And you're starting anew with these Cardinal fans, and people are very, very disgruntled with the product right now.
It's just that the word there is temptation, right? They're going to be tempted by this because they're going to see likely an uptick in production and practice. Kyler Murray's probably going to go out there and make the first team. I'm sure our plays look bad. Yeah. Right? And this was a defense that was out there that was balling out against Geno Smith and a pretty potent offense, and the Seattle Seahawks even down DK Metcalf. But they've remained steadfast. And I think that, to your point, they have really no want to make Kyler Murray, if it's not next week at home against the Baltimore Ravens, his first game on the road, early November against the Cleveland Browns, against Myles Garrett. He can make a lot of offenses look bad. I don't think that they want that to be. It's not conducive to a solid return for Kyler Murray. So I think we've got at least 2 more games of non-Kyler Murray quarterback play, probably 2 more games of Joshua Dobbs.
Yeah, BG, for me, it's like at the end of the day, Joshua Dobbs, we've seen now the ultimate highs and the ultimate lows. They're going to come in and say everything correctly at the podium. We're going to get better. We're going to continue to work. I mean, the jury's out now. And this is unfortunately who he is with this stable of supporting cast. And the biggest factor is you're not going to have James Conner until at earliest Atlanta. So this offense now is beholden to Joshua Dobbs' arm, and that's not a good place to be.
No, and if you're Drew Petzing, this is how you have to realize your play calls now.
Yeah.
You got to realize you've got to find ways to get the ball out of his hands quick, but it's not checkdowns. You've got to find plays and routes that can get that sort of 3 to 5 step drops that you can get it out quickly, and you know who you have. All right, we're 7 weeks into this. It's not going to be some gigantic step up. All it can do is go down, but you've got to find ways to get completions. You've got to find ways to move the ball. You've got to get the run game going. Like you said, we don't have James Conner for another 2 weeks, so it's somebody's got to do something.
We're teetering on the point, folks, from regular season to draft season, and I'm not talking about where we're at in the schedule, but where the Cardinals are at in the standings. And I see somebody, Dylan Richards, in the chat, like poised to go 1-8, 1-9. I mean, that's how you get people's attention real quick to perk up, to look ahead to a generational draft class in 2024. But then you have this big franchise quarterback caveat, making a beeline to your team. The sooner you rip that Band-Aid off, the sooner that you can quiet that talk and focus more on this season. More super chats here, if we could. Damon Dog, you guys have been fantastic today. Snyder, $1.99. What do you guys think about the CeeDee Lamb rumors? I think Dallas Bo is poised to re-sign CeeDee Lamb. I don't think that's an option.
Nowhere.
No, I just don't think it even makes sense for the Cardinals outside of like connecting the easy dots of players that played together at the collegiate level. They maintain friendship, like between him, Hollywood Brown, and Kyler Murray is great. But the draft capital that you have to give up and then have to pay him on top of that, that's a hefty price for a good player, like a really, really good player. But I would much rather see them utilize the draft capital that they'd have to get to just acquire him, and the cap space also that it would take to extend it.
$4.99 Alex, tongue-in-cheek. Josh Dobbs just has to play the best defenses to play good. Obviously, his performance against San Francisco, that feels like forever ago, doesn't it? The 2 touchdowns should have been 3 against San Francisco at no point, and maybe it's because you don't have James Conner that I think that the wheels would fall off so drastically, Britten.
Yeah, I mean, and you can't. It's not something that you could prepare for. You have a backup quarterback starting right now, and when you lose your starting running back, a guy like James Conner, who's done so much for the run game, and frankly, picking up blitzes in the pass game, he helps you back there. You've had no help, and then I feel like even with the running backs we've got, I feel like we get away from the run game when shit goes down. When shit goes bad, now we're like you said today, there's no reason Dobbs should have 33 pass attempts. No. Right? When the earlier games that we played well, that we should have won, that we were in really, really close, when James Conner was there, we had 157, 200 yards rushing, however you want it to be, and he had 18 to 20 pass attempts.
Yeah, I know people are chirping at me on Twitter saying I'm being too hard on DeMercado. Like, he had 13 carries. I know he was 4.5 yards per attempt, but 13 carries tells you what they think of DeMercado. Like, he is not a bell cow back.
Shit, what does that mean about Ingram?
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, it means our boy Keontae Ingram could not be their boy much longer. But again, you needed somebody in place that's not James Conner that could come in and carry the ball 20 to 25 times, because that's what this offense needs. Kyler Murray or Josh Dobbs or whatever, this offense, check the history of the Shanahan offense. Whether it's Jeff Wilson or Christian McCaffrey, whomever it is, Raheem Mostert, you have to have a guy go 20 to 25 touches and to keep things honest on the ground. At no point did that feel like this was where this was going today.
That's an interesting wrinkle to this, right? I mean, when you look at the last couple of weeks without James Conner, you've seen an uptick in sacks, right? He gets sacked 4 times today. He got sacked twice last week and then 3 times the previous week. So you're looking at, 9 sacks?
Yeah.
Right around 10 sacks? I don't know. And, James Conner was a big part of that. Obviously, probably your best back in pass pro. And, James Conner was out his 2nd straight week. He's got 2 more weeks to go.
Yeah.
Should be ready to come off IR. I mean, do you want Kyler Murray to come and play, behind that offensive line, that without that conflict of a solid running game and without a running back that's legit in pass pro and then isn't getting chunk yardage and set you up in a good position to be successful offensively? It just seems like the most conducive time for Kyler Murray to come back.
Atlanta.
Cardinals are a loss and a Carolina Panthers win away from being in a position to have the number 1 first overall pick at least next week. Who does Carolina play? Or our friends in Houston. No Texans tracker today. Thank God. We need to take a break because the Texans are a revelation. Topic 64, $1.99. JV got the Jordans on. I do. They were a nice novelty after you guys made fun of my $30 Under Armours from Amazon. We were 1-0 in my Jordans. Subsequently now, we've lost a lot of games. So I may have to go back to the well. Maybe I'll wear some Crocs.
Maybe we just get a new pair of Jordans.
Next week. Well, that could be an option. I put some lifts in mine. Maybe I just need a little bit more height on this post-game show. We're having a good time. Despite this team, I don't like watching losing football. We don't like watching losing football, but we love hanging every Sunday with all of you here at BetMGM, here in this virtual space. You guys make coverage of the Arizona Cardinals elite here with your elite and premium Arizona Cardinal podcast, PHNX Cardinals. We're back for a banner week. It feels like almost now the week-to-week practices with Kyler Murray feel just as big as these game days as we await the return of the franchise quarterback, number one, K1. Could that be this time next week? Keep it locked into PHNX Cardinals. And again, a reminder, go PHNX Cardinals wherever you find your podcast. Write us a review. Take a screenshot. We will read it on air. Maybe we'll do it on our audio-only podcast next Thursday. We appreciate all of you. Like this video. We are this close to 19,000 subscribers here on our YouTube page. Help us get there. We appreciate it. Community, no better time to be a fan of the Cardinals. No better time to be a fan of PHNX Sports. As we've got Diamondbacks baseball, Coyotes, Suns, everything that you want right in a single place. For Britten, Golden, Bullbrock, I'm Johnny Venerable. We're back on Monday. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.